to face because you would have a lot of opportunities at running that thing back with pick six.
Well, you know what? I did pick out Ryan Fitzmagic. So how you feel about it?
Hey,
you around 18
I'm not
years.
surprised how long you've been in the league and so many teams. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I picked him off, but I picked off a younger version of Ryan. This older version of Ryan actually is pretty damn good, and he can flat out play. Don't forget the guy got benched in Miami for winning too much. So that tells you a lot about him and where he's at. And he's in the top, hey, believe it or not, he's in the top 5, top 6 in QBR and completions in the last 3 years of his career. He's got better. It's like Ryan, he's getting better. But I got something that I feel, as much as I know Ryan is going to help us win and he's going to be that guy, you know, sometimes in football, it's all about the story. I feel a Kurt Warner type story happening with Tyler Heineke. I just feel if Ryan Fitzmagic missed just 1 or 2 games, he'll never get his job back again. I feel that Tyler Heineke would get in there and really become Kurt Warner of the Washington football team. Yes, the guy that comes out of nowhere that was bagging groceries that turns into a Hall of Famer. I gotta feel it.
How does that OG title make you feel to know that you had made an imprint into this fan base and things like that?
Oh, that's just, you used to look at the guys like B. Mitch and Doc Walker, you know, you Sonny Jurgensen's, and you be like, man, they played and they was a part of historic teams, and all of a sudden, you know, we didn't have any history. I think we brought a different energy to the city, and you know, just having the luxury of playing with Sean T and playing with Santana, myself, Marcus, Christian. I think the guys, you know, Smoke, those guys that was in that community meant so much. You know, even the unsung heroes, the Mike Sellers, the Rock Cartwrights, the Kerry Campbells.
What it do, Jaren? What up, though? What up, though? I still feel like I'm from Detroit, but I'm not. I'm gonna keep saying that, though. Let's go ahead and get to it, man. Let's get to it. How you feeling, Jaren? And welcome to everybody else that's on, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and transition right quick. Boom. All right, there we go. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Die podcast, man. Welcome to the new viewers who just tuned in through Twitch as well. Hope everybody's all right. Hope everybody's doing good. This is another episode of the Trap or Die podcast provided to you by 214 Media. I am your host, Jamal. With us today, we got Dre. AJ may be on the way. We're not sure just yet. But Dre's in tonight. Dre, how you feeling tonight, big dog? Everything good with you?
What's good, man? I'm happy we finally got this damn nonsense of a name change about to come to an end. You know, they came out today. I thought we got some good information from Jason Wright. You know, I don't know why I always want to call Jason Wright Jason Campbell. Like, for some reason, he looked like Jason Campbell and he reminded me of Jason.
I was just about to say that part. Motherfucker look like Jason, too.
But I love how the fans are just all engaged in every little details of these videos they're putting out. So we got something excited. I mean, obviously, it's another divergence. So, hey, you know, it is what it is.
Listen though, because you're on to something, bro. I was gonna start out with that. First off, everybody that's tuning in, remember, by the way, y'all gonna see me do this a lot. I just got from the gym. I haven't had a chance to take a shower yet. I'm gonna be wiping everything. But listen, everybody that's tuning in, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. But if you are on Twitter, make sure you check in on YouTube and Twitch so you can be part of the conversation. What are y'all thoughts on everything that's happened today? Obviously, for those who don't know, the new name is set to be announced on February 2nd, 2022. BQC is in the chat, letting us know. But yeah, and Jerry, let us know how you feel about that. What do you think about the drama part? Jerry says that it's too much drama or so much drama, but just let us know everything that's going on, man. Let's have some fun for a second, man. Let's talk about everything that has nothing to do with the 2021 season for right now. Dre, you said that there was a lot that you saw from that video, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I am excited. Because I remember I told Rio when we had Rio on after the show, I really didn't care about the name. And truth be told, that's still true to this day. But I'm excited because we're closer to the finish line. And that's something that I'm looking forward to just kind of see where we are in this process, what name we actually chose, and how we're going to move forward from here. I have my thoughts. I'm going to hand it to you first. What are some things you picked up on or just like where are you at with this whole process and the new video?
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm just happy that it's actually coming to a close. They gave us a date finally, so people can kind of stop speculating on when they may get the name. And I'm glad they're not going to drag it out to March or April. We'll get it in February, and it's actually cool because I also heard that it's a possibility that our two Pro Bowlers may be sporting the new jerseys at the Pro Bowl because the announcements are coming before the Pro Bowl. So, but as far as what the name is, or what I took from those, I didn't personally take anything from those videos because I'm not one of those like detailed people where I'm looking for every little fucking detail. But other fans think it's what Commanders or maybe Red Tails, Hogs or whatever. I don't care. I never got attached to any of the names, so I'm just gonna go embrace whatever name. Like I said, the day I embraced the Washington Wizards was the day I said I can literally embrace any name out there because every name's corny. Like every name is cheesy. Like I don't see one name. Like I saw some fans say Renegades. I was like, what is this? Charles Barkley shut up and jam for Sega Genesis? No, I don't want to be named the Renegades. But anyway, all of them are corny, so I'll embrace anything. It don't matter. I see Dakota.
Calm your ass, bruh. Calm your. She been doing this all night, bruh.
Have you taken her out
20 minutes ago?
That snow, man. Like
I have, but and here's the thing that I'm worried about. I'll tell all y'all right quick, bruh. Shorty, today's Tuesday, so it was yesterday. When I tell you Shorty, bruh, I go downstairs. I open the door for a second. Like sometimes she sleeps in my room, sometimes she doesn't. But when I'm up in the morning, I'll just open the door and she can go outside or come to this room because she likes to go onto this little thing right here to look out the window. So if I'm up, I'll just open the door open my room so she can freelance. Bro, when I tell you, I went back to sleep because I woke up at 6 for a second. That's usually around the time I wake up. I go back to sleep, wake up at 7:30. I walked her at 9 p.m. on Sunday night or that late Sunday night. Bro, I go downstairs, bro. She fucking, bro, when I tell you, it was shit everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Like, bro, I'm not playing. Everywhere. I was so mad that I wasn't mad. It was nothing I could do at that point.
Do you mean literally shit or do you mean just shit around the house? Like,
I meant literal.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah,
we're talking about the bathroom part. Yeah, we're talking about the bathroom part. I'm talking. The only good thing about that is that it was not. I could pick it up. Put it that. Okay. I could pick it up. Right. So I was able to clean up after her for a little bit, but like her, when she does things like that, it's tricky because sometimes she really wants me to pet her. Like that's how spoiled she is, and then sometimes it's like, sometimes it's like, damn, bro, hey. Go outside, nigga. I gotta go. So I don't know sometimes, bro. But listen, for me, so for those who don't know, let's talk about everything that we'll stay on this probably about just a few minutes. But for those who don't know, and I got informed because there was one person where I work out with, he's a Skins fan, but had no idea about the names that was presented to us. Some time ago, I think I would like to say summer of 2021. This is all the mix up where Tanya Schneider was in place of Dan Schneider and Jason Wright was speaking for the team in public as well, as Tanya Schneider was. At one point, Washington presented, matter of fact, it was another Making a Brand video. And out of the Making a Brand video, the team collected 8 names. Tanya Schneider at one point confirmed that these were the 8 names. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now, because I have to clarify, it dawned on me after I tweeted this, that Jason Wright at a later time said that these weren't the final list of 8 names. However, we have something to go with. For those who aren't familiar, the 8 names that were selected in the Making a Brand video that Tanya had once confirmed was final was the Armada, Brigade, Commanders, Defenders, Presidents, Red Hogs, Red Wolves, Washington Football Team. As far as what we know right now, we know that Red Wolves isn't part of the things. A part of plans because Jason Wright confirmed in the most recent video, which is today, January 4th, that litigation eliminates it. Simple as that. Litigation eliminates that. Washington Football Team was reported a few months ago that was not going to be on there either. It's not going to be city-centric or something like that. So there's no Washington anything in terms of like DC football team or football club or Washington Football Team or football club. So Washington Football Team is eliminated. Now you're left with Red Hogs, Presidents, Armada, Brigade, Commanders, and Defenders. Armada was something that I really liked. But But Armada is not rumored to be up there either, or reported. Not is reported to not be up there among the finalists as well. I think this one was Kevin Sheehan reported something like that, that Armada wasn't going to be up there. So now we're down to what, 3, 4, 5 names: Brigade, Commanders, Defenders, Presidents, Red Hogs. Brigade isn't going to be up there either, as well as Armada, because it's going to be
some of the S that they.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So now we're down. Now we're down to 4: Commanders, Defenders, Presidents, Red Hogs. The teaser was so good because I like the uniforms, the glimpse of the uniforms, and I would love to see the finished product. But out of all of those names that we have, and all of what we saw from the uniform, the stars can be represented as DC, like other people have told me. I thought that it was military themed, because if it was DC, if you think about it, this is a point that really nobody else has brought up. Yes, the Capitals and the Wizards have DC themed, even the Mystics to a degree, but they all have DC themed things, but their colors are red, white, and blue. Like those are what their colors are looking like. Washington, while they're going to have stars that kind of can be perceived as a DC themed uniform, they're not red, white, and blue. So it can still be passed off as a military thing versus anything DC centric and representing DC. So I just want to keep that in mind. And with all that being said, Dre, I think it's going to be fucking Commanders. I think it's going to be. Go ahead. I think it's going to be Commanders.
I do too. I actually heard this a while back that it was most likely going to be either Commanders or Wolves, but I guess now that we know Wolves is out of the equation, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Commanders, which is cool. Like I said, I know I had a conversation with one of our guys that watches the show, Kev. Kev was telling me, he said, "Oh, they're gonna call us the commies." I was like, "Well, they call us the foreskins and dickheads for years, so well, it's okay. I'm okay if they call us commies. They're gonna find, they're always gonna find something to say about you. Every team in the NFL or every team in any sport can find an opposing fan base that's going to call you some kind of name. We call the Cowboys the Cowgirls, the Eagles the She-Girls, you know what I'm saying, or the E-Girls, and so it's you're going to find something to say. I don't care about that. You win, they could call you anything, but they're going to call you a winner. So that's all we care about. Start building a winning team, a winning franchise, and you can call us what you want. You can call us commies or whatever the hell, but give me a cool uniform design, because I thought the uniform sleek looks that we saw today actually, they look pretty damn good, man. I like that we're kind of going back to the old school burgundy. Like, we're not so much of that light red that we kind of been wearing these last 20 or so years. So that's good.
Switch that shit up. Hell yeah.
That black alternate though, I'm wondering if that's really a black, because it looked black, but that's what I've been waiting for so many years. I've been wanting us to kind of get modernized with the NFL, and I'm not sure. I think I heard someone say today that they did change the rules going into effect next year, that you'll be able to wear 2 different helmets, which has been like a holdup for a lot of NFL teams, like, because you got to wear the same helmet with every uniform. But now I think going forward, it's a possibility you'll be able to switch up the helmets, which is why we saw that black, or that possible black look. So that's going to be interesting to see that. Yeah.
QC on the same page as you, bruh. Now, I did have a criticism until it dawned on me that I was wrong in a good way. The first thing I thought was, y'all getting hyped over a helmet that's black and has nothing like attached to it. And then it dawned on me, because I was like, why would they show us a helmet that's black with the logo or the color scheme on it? They wouldn't do that. They have no need to do that right now. So it dawned on me. I looked up Google and just looked at the Pittsburgh Steelers helmet. Obviously, they have the black helmet. But if you take away their logo, if you take away their colors, it's just a black helmet with a black face mask. And that was kind of my concern. I was like, I don't think that's real. But then I looked it up. Turns out that it starts from somewhere. So yes, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the black helmet. It's obviously a sign in the video. And Dre, you brought up a larger point that I don't even know if you hit on. But the black helmet is a really good sign that they're going to move forward with the times that we are in right now. But the point of me saying that you brought up a good point was that I don't know exactly what everything is in the video, like clue-wise, but I feel like everything that they're telling us is in plain sight, and we just don't know it because we're guessing we're trying to analyze everything, but once the name comes out, you look back at these videos like, oh, it all makes sense. Everything's right there. Whatever that may be, I think that's what's going on right now. They're just making sure that they do everything, obviously, to protect certain things, but still give out the teases. Because why would you give out a tease if you can't really look back on something and say, oh, shit, like, they were doing this the entire time. So one more thing. When we talk about Red Wolves, RIP to the Red Wolves, RIP to the Wolves. You know what I'm saying? Y'all fans, y'all was doing y'all thing. Y'all was really making a push for that name. And, I commend you all for that effort. That your voices was heard. I
just felt bad for the ones that bought Red Wolves attire.
I saw that, bro. Hey, if you bought that thinking that it was going to be something, look, you can't get your money back. So might as well cherish it, frame it, put that motherfucker up.
Don't come to the stadium howling next year either.
Yeah. So listen, Rick Snyder. A lot of people have their opinions on Rick, but Rick is a good man. He's been cool with me. Rick Snyder brought up a interesting point that I don't think nobody knew, or maybe they forgot. For speaking for myself, I didn't know. But he said earlier today, you can blame the Minnesota Timberwolves for Washington not getting some Wolves name. The NBA didn't want a bigger NFL team having Wolves and has all the variations trademarked. The team knew that 6 months ago. Now, that part stood out to me because 6 months ago, now he said 6 months ago, it could be at least 6 months, so it could be even longer. The issue with this conversation, and I trust Rick when he does this historian stuff and his research, he knows what he's doing. The thing is, they included the entire fan base with these votes and these polls, and they sent fans to the stadium to get interviewed on potential names and reactions and things like that. But the team knew 6 months ago, at least, that these Red Wolves or Wolves was not going to be the name. They knew it. And they are just telling people on January 4th, 2022, hey, it made it to our final list, but it wasn't up there because of litigation issues. Did you catch on with what Rick Snyder had to say about the Timberwolves and Wolves conversation?
No, I actually didn't, but it's not surprising. But you just brought up something that made me laugh because it's funny that the team probably has known that for a while and just let a lot of these fans get their hopes up for that name. And that's why they're just so disappointed today, but it's also, I think, the same reason why Warriors wasn't an option as well. I mean, I think with the Golden State Warriors, they didn't, that was going to be another blocker. So I know a lot of fans was suggesting that early on in the process. So it doesn't really surprise me that the Wolves name, was blocked by the NBA or the Timberwolves or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's just funny, like you said, that they just now kind of letting you know that this is not going to be the name after all of these fans for pretty much 18 months now got their hopes up about that.
Yep. All right, so one statement, and then we can transition to Coach to speak. To clear up, like I said, everything we need to know about the name thing. For those who don't know, if you happen to see websites moving forward, what may be potential new skins names for the team, and it directs you to the Washington football team website, be wary of it. There was people all over Twitter today doing their research, which is there's nothing wrong with that, but they told us a long time ago that things like this would happen. And one of the conversations today was Washington Admirals, who, from what I understand now, as of 7:18 p.m. Eastern, if you were to go to WashingtonAdmirals.com, at one point earlier in the day, it directs you to the Washington football team website, but now it doesn't even do that anymore. Like, it doesn't even direct you to the Washington football team site anymore. So the redirect has changed. And what I mean by that, for those who don't understand, the domain, registering trademarks and stuff like that, anybody can do it. It costs a couple dollars. And with that being said, if you want to squat on a potential Washington name by like registering a domain or something like that, that's up to you. But at the end of the day, Washington, put it this way, Washington's legal team is too smart to have some random guy uncover what the name is going to be by looking up possible names and domains and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. Everything that you see right now does not mean that you've uncovered something, and just take that moving forward to understand that we have a month to go. February 2nd, 2022.
On that point, I did want to speak to this, Jamal. You do want to be wary of this because I just searched up WashingtonPigtails.com, and it redirects to the Washington football team. So literally anybody can put any name with a team. We know damn well the name not going to be Pigtails. So like Jamal said, be wary of that.
Yes, sir. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the real spiel, man. Coaches speak. So moving forward, we have coaches speak coming up, and then we have shit you see on social media and quote of the week. So I'm gonna go through 3 quotes that Ron Rivera gave in his presser on Monday. Tuesday, I don't think he had a presser. So we're gonna go through his quotes that he had on Monday. We're gonna dissect it. What did he say? But what did he say? So let's go ahead and get into the first one. And Dre, I'm gonna kick it off with you, obviously, because it's 2 of us. He answered a question on if he will look back on the missed opportunities this year. And the quote goes as follows. Yeah, I most certainly will. We'll go all the way back to the beginning, and we'll go through each game individually and see things that we could have done that could have helped us. Obviously, there are some elements of the San Diego game, obviously meaning Los Angeles Chargers, just probably a habit thing. But San Diego game that you look at and say, wow, we had some chances here. You definitely look at the same game. You'll definitely look at Denver. But we'll look at them and really go through each game and try to pick apart and just say, hey, these are things that we've got to be better at, and this is the situation that we got to handle. Those type of things are important as we evaluate what happened this season. Everybody in the chat, if you all are here and you want to participate in the Coaches Speak, tell us what Ron is saying, but also what he is really saying. What is the meat to the bone that Ron is putting out there? Dre, you can go ahead and kick it off. What is he saying about the opportunities that he'll look back on, or the missed opportunities that he'll look back on this year?
Yeah, I think Ron, it's kind of funny because he does sound like a fan that talks about, oh, we did this, we would have been this. But, I mean, I guess he's right because, I mean, there were missed opportunities. You look at the Chargers game, you fumble. Antonio Gibson fumbles on the 5-yard line in that game when you're up in the fourth quarter, you lose that. But it's not – I think it's a little deeper than just missed opportunities. It's that defense just wasn't what you thought it was going to be this year. In a lot of games, they didn't give you a chance to – compete pretty, so to speak, especially when you're not good at the quarterback position. And the games we did win this year, we were good. Like, we got good quarterback play, which wasn't common because Heineke wasn't good most of the season. Heineke had good games, but he wasn't good most of the season. In the games he were good, we either had a chance to win or we won those games. So it's more than just missed opportunities because the defense just didn't give you an opportunity in a lot of those games, which was, it sucked because that's the unit you were relying on going into the season, the unit you thought was going to carry you this season. So he's going to have to look deeper this offseason than to just say, oh, we would have just made this play or this executed play, we would have been better. No, you're going to have to get guys in here. I mean, I don't know, defensively, like I said, if you want to change up the scheme, if you want to get some guys in to fit the scheme, but something's got to change there, obviously. And then you have to get better at the quarterback position because, like I said earlier, the games you did win or the games you had a chance in, the quarterback play was pretty good in those games, but that wasn't many games this season. So you think if you can go out and get a better quarterback, then you can compete in these games and you can win more of these games. Like those 6 or 7 games that you won this year, maybe can turn into 9 to 10 to 11 next year.
Dre, do you consider Ron Rivera to be a selfish? Excuse me, I said selfish. I was thinking selfish this entire time, but I meant stubborn. Do you consider Ron Rivera to be a stubborn head coach? In whatever degree you want to take it.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. And it's because I believe he thinks he can win his way. I mean, he's seen success in the league before. I know a lot of people like to point out his losing seasons. He has 8 of 11 losing seasons. That's fair. But he also has seasons where he went 15-1 and, had, some pretty good double-digit win seasons. So he's seen those seasons and figured I can win my way. But I don't feel like he's stubborn to the point where it's detrimental in a terrible way to the team. Like I just think more so he does believe in the guys around him and the units that he have or the schemes that they run that they can win if they just do a couple of things differently. So I don't know if that's going to be his downfall here, but it could be a good thing here as well.
Okay. The reason why I asked if he was stubborn is this one specific quote I actually wrote about earlier today. And one of the things that I took away, I thought his quote was fair. Or his response was fair. The thing is, he didn't give us too much. He didn't say in detail what he would be doing when he looks back at the film. He just gave us a broad, high-level answer of, yeah, we'll look back, analyze, pick up some lessons learned, et cetera, et cetera. But the after looking at the quote a few times and just trying to figure out the angle in which his answer is important, it was a question that I came up with. And the question I came up with was when he does identify better ways to approach situations, would Ron, who is known, what's going on? How you feeling, boss? Who is known to be stubborn, because I agree with you, Dre, would he trust the new information that he acquired in the offseason, or will he revert to his core tendencies? And we know when you know things or when you pick up new things that you've learned, especially years down the line, sometimes you have this innate sense to just go back to what you know. But are you going to trust that new information? Are you going to adjust to whatever it is, whatever situations? Because again, he was broad. He wasn't really specific. But are you going to trust yourself in those new situations or those same situations, and try something different versus just sitting here and saying, man, fuck what I learned. I know this shit used to work, so I'm going to try this. And I'm going to keep trying this until it worked. And I'll worry about the backlash later if it don't. That's kind of where I'm concerned with that question, and whether or not his decision is right or wrong. That's not the problem. I think the answer only ultimately lies upon Ron Rivera himself, because the narrative, we can control that from a media or from a fan's perspective in terms of who he is as a coach. But is Ron trying something new? Is he putting something out there? Like, time will tell. Time will tell us if he learns some new things. And it's hard to teach the old dog the new trick, as they say. And if he's married to his ways, man, then what he gave in that answer, it's going to be hard for me to really sit here and say, you know what, it was acceptable. Obviously, this ain't going to be something that we remember 7 months down the line. But at the end of the day, this is a conversation that's worth having now, because this is something that we will look back to when his tenure is over in Washington. Whether it's good or bad, it's something that we will remember. Did he ever change his ways? Did he improve? And so far right now, obviously we know that he's stubborn, but if his plan is going to work, it should work in year 3.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jamal, because this is actually the honeymoon's over for Ron Rivera. I mean, that doesn't mean he's getting fired or he should be fired at this point. But now you can fairly evaluate Ron Rivera going forward as a head coach and also as the president of the team. Because now, like I said, he's going into essentially year 2 with his front office staff. I mean, it's year 3 as, a whole, but he's essentially going into year 2 with Hurney and Mayhew. So now you should start seeing Hurney and Mayhew's influence as well. And I also think that, while Ron may be stubborn, he also is only going to be as good as the people that's advising him around him. So if Marty Hurney and Martin Mayhew have a big influence on him, maybe we'll see some kind of, good personnel changes here, because he's going to listen. He's going to lean on those guys. But again, so next year we're going to see what happens with Jack Del Rio. Maybe he brings Jack Del Rio back. I mean, it's more likelihood, but it may depend on Jack Del Rio as well. We don't know if he continues to like it here. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But going into next season, now you can fairly evaluate everybody, because you're going to go into this offseason. You're going to have to do something at quarterback. You cannot trot out the same 3 guys that you got in this year or you can't just bring in a Mitch Trubisky and say, oh, we're going to run a quarterback competition between he and Heineke this year. No, you're not going to sell fans or anybody on that kind of rebrand. So you're going to have to make some significant move at the quarterback position, and that's going to be the key right there. So you're going to look at that. You're going to say, did he really upgrade this position? Are we better going into next year? And that's going to come with the results. But then you're also going to be looking at that defense. Is that defense progressing? I mean, because it can't regress, in my opinion. I mean, it's always ways you can get worse.
No.
But right now, it's a bad unit. I mean, it's a bad unit all over. I mean, you got good talent on it, but it's a bad unit collectively. So next year, you're going to be looking at, did we get better at the quarterback position? Did we get better at skill positions on offense? And did we get better collectively as a unit on defense? And if the answer is no to at least two of those three things, then Ron Rivera is on thin ice.
So I got two questions for you. Now, we talked about this Sunday briefly, but the coordinator positions, obviously, we all know the coordinator. I mean, if things are getting weary from a head coaching standpoint, the first people to go are the assistants. Coordinator is probably it. Del Rio. Now, you mentioned Del Rio on Sunday too, Dre, and I'm going to bring this back up to you now. Is this something that you are in favor of in terms of getting rid of Rivera? I mean, excuse me, getting rid of Del Rio, or is this something you're in favor of in terms of Rivera considering getting rid of Del Rio? That's the question I have for you.
Well, I definitely think Ron should evaluate that. I don't think that should be off the table at all, because it's a unit that just got really bad this year. I mean, do you have the numbers? Like, what's their total defense this year? We were 2 last year. So, I mean, whatever we were this year, we're probably
right now. Here we go. 28th in points, 27th in yards, 9th ranked rush defense in yards per attempt, but the 29th ranked pass defense in yards per attempt, 30th in yards for passing defense. So that's obviously
that's unacceptable. That's when you can start talking about it, because this is a unit, like I said, expected to carry the team, going into the season. And you're not just, an average defense this year. You're a bad defense. You're a bottom 5 unit defense, and the numbers weren't lying, because a lot of those games we watched, we didn't have a fucking chance in those games. So the question definitely has to be on the table for Ron if I want to look in another direction at defensive coordinator. Like, because I don't know. I mean, and it's hard, because the only reason I'm not saying outright fire him, because you look at his resume, Jack Del Rio's resume. This year is essentially an anomaly, in terms of what he's done on his resume. So
hey, Jay, at this point, this. Go ahead.
Yeah, but at this point, you're wondering, has the game passed him by? Do you want to wait another year or give him another year to see that? Or do you just chalk this up as an anomaly and say, all right, well, we'll see what he can do next year? But either way, it's on Ron's head, whatever. If it goes bad, it makes Ron look bad.
I'm gonna put this on the timeline tomorrow, just to put it out there. But Dre, we had a conversation. Maybe if it wasn't like the mini camp time, it was training camp time. We asked each other, is Del Rio annoyed with Ron Rivera? We asked that question.
Yeah, we did.
And
we got backlash too, didn't we?
Yes. And we came to the conclusion, because I remember this. I won't never forget the word. You mentioned perturbed, whatever the word is. Like, I'm not that good at perturbed. I'm going to let you say it. But we answered this question. And while we figured that this defense was going to be better and Del Rio was going to handle his business, it also may be the case that after 17 weeks has gone by, going into 18 weeks, these guys literally may have been annoyed with each other. They may not be on the same page. They may not be understanding what each other wants from each other. And when we always talk about the staff that Ron Rivera brought in, who is the one person that was not a person familiar with what he wants?
He's the only one that never worked with Ron.
Del Rio's the only one.
And, he's also been a former head coach twice in this league. So you can see a situation where you got two strong-headed guys like that. they're gonna clash. Like I said, they never worked together before, but it did.
Think about how he speaks in the press conferences too.
Yeah, they speak differently in the press conferences. Like Ron will say one thing, and Jack's like, "Oh, Ron said that. Well, okay. Well, if he said that, he said it." But you could tell they want to operate differently. Jack Del Rio, he's it's hard to kind of go from a head coach in this league to kind of fall back into an assistant's role, and not only fall back into an assistant's role, but fall back behind alpha leader in Ron. Like Ron is not like it's not like a Sean McVay or Wade Phillips situation where Wade Phillips is just happy to help this young guy, and he's also and Sean McVay's going to lean on this guy. Ron doesn't necessarily have to lean on Jack Del Rio. They just have to work with each other, but you can tell they operate a lot differently, and Jack kind of operates like, if I was the head coach of this team, we wouldn't be doing this, that, or the third. And Ron operates like, man, hey, this is my squad. I answer, I take all of the blame, I get all of the credit, whatever. So Jack, you could tell they get a little perturbed, like you said, or annoyed with each other, and that could be a thing.
I like that P word better. You just keep saying it. I'm gonna just back
the perturbed word. Yeah, he could be perturbed, and that's why I said it could be a situation where Jack may resign. I mean, we don't know. That's something that we have to figure out in the coming months.
Yeah, perturbed. Yeah, for sure. Whatever that word is.
You got it, man. It's an SAT word.
Yeah, I'm trying, bro. I'm trying. All right, let's move on to the next one, man. That was a good conversation. One of the things. Oh shoot, I didn't even realize AJ was on. Let me go ahead and add him right quick. And catch up to the comments. What's going on, Breeze? Breeze said chemistry is an issue on defense. And then Breeze mentioned Jack may have to go for that very reason. QC, because he is an OG. I remember that conversation in the summer. Let's go ahead and add Dre. Boom. AJ, my bad. Damn, I got to remove the comments now. All right, there we go. All right, so there we go. What's going on, AJ? How you feeling? Everything good with you?
Yeah, man, doing better. How you guys doing?
I'm
good,
all right,
man.
You doing better?
Talking about your favorite person. Yeah, we talking about AJ favorite person, Ron Rivera.
This was feeling a little weird just now, so yeah.
All right. Well, look, we did you a favor, bro. You know what I'm saying? We got the name talk out early. You ain't had to worry about that.
Perfect.
You can go ahead. We can go ahead and focus on the bullshit that Ron Rivera is putting us up with and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? We got you covered. You know what I'm saying? We're about to go ahead and talk about a quote. So the thing that we talked about, Dre, the third year thing, it's pretty big, obviously. And he answered the question on Monday on if taking a big step forward next year is a fair expectation. This is a pretty lengthy quote, but I think it's worth going through it. And obviously, we take what he said and dissect, what he really said. And here it is as follows. I like to believe so. To me, there's a lot of things we've been working on, a lot of things we feel good about. There's some things that were out of our control this year that has really hampered us. But at the end of the day, if you map things out, you plan things out, and this is really what we believe, I don't see why not. And again, I know expectations will be high. I know people will say, well, it's your third season. This is what happens in your third season. And again, I get it. At the end of the day, we have some holes that we want to fill. We have some players we want to make sure these are the right kind of guys that are going to be out on the football field. That's all a part of the process I believe in. And I know, believe me, I didn't come here thinking it's going to be an easy turnaround. The first 2 years are going to be great. I think we outdid our expectations the first year. I thought coming into our second year, I said to you guys that there are things that I was still concerned with. Now, going into the third year, I'd like to believe that we've taken some big steps. There's some things we want to do in free agency, some things we want to do in the draft that can help us. We'll see where everything falls in place. I just feel about some of the things we've done. I feel good about some of the things we've done. I know a lot of people, they may not be able to see that, but it's okay. That's how I feel about it. And that is the full quote from Ron Rivera on if he thinks taking a big step forward next year is a fair expectation. AJ, I'm going to go ahead and knock this thing out with you first. Where you at with this quote that Ron Rivera said? What did he say? And what is he really saying?
I feel like it's just more bullshit at the end of the day. We just keep listening to him tell us more bullshit
spit my liquor
every time he gets in front of the microphone. So, for me, You know, at the end of the day, you always seem to give. He always seems to give these type of quotes, whereas if he knows what's wrong and how to fix it, but yet all the movies that he's done has not shown that he knows what the hell is going on. Like even the comment about Jamin Davis, you know, the other day, where it's like we may need to play him more so outside than inside. Like you didn't know that. Like people that don't get paid to handle, you know, football operations and things of that nature already know that. Why don't you know that? So it's just a bit concerning. But you know, at the end of the day, I guess he's still gonna get the year three to show it prove. But for me, I'm already sold that he's not the man for the job, and it's just gonna be more of the same.
Dre, where you at with this one?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it just sounds to me like he's trying to, because again, he said repeatedly in the offseason that, you know, he kind of warned us that the expectations are a little bit too high, and that was to be expected coming off a division win. So I guess now he's trying to say, all right, well, I kind of didn't expect us to be that great this season. I guess that's what he's trying to say. I mean, listening to those comments, but I also saw us take some strides. Which I mean, I don't know how much you can really take from that, because I mean, you look at last year. What did we finish? What 7-9,
7-9.
and
Yeah.
then this year we're likely going to finish 7-10. And you could say they took a step back, or you could say they just didn't get better at all. But maybe Ron is seeing something. But again, that defense was so bad this year. It's just hard to sit up here and say, you know, you've taken some major strides, because you can't look at the defense and say you did. Maybe a couple of individual players you can say that about, like of course John Allen. You know, he did that, but there's a lot of guys on the defense that also got a lot of question marks with them. And Jamin Davis right now is the biggest question mark. That's the guy you took in the first round, and that hurts if you really missed on that pick, man, because like I said, you miss on first rounders, that can set you back a couple of years, because those guys are supposed to be impact guys. And if they aren't impact guys year one, they're supposed to show flashes of an impact guy. And Jamin Davis just hasn't done that at all this season. Like, did he get credited for a sack this guy? I think he may have got credited for his first sack in his NFL
If
career.
it wasn't a full sack, it was a half sack. But he definitely got a sack.
Yeah, he doesn't like impact the game in any way. And you know, even I even go back 20 years ago to LeVar Arrington's rookie year.
Sack.
You know, and LeVar Arrington's rookie year, he was a guy that was considered to say that they called him a freelancer. They always called LeVar a freelancer, and that he didn't really know what he was doing on the field. But LeVar still made a play here and there. Like LeVar could still make plays because he had that athleticism, and he just, you know, he could be around the ball. But we just haven't seen that at all with Jamin Davis, and that hurts from your first round picks. If you want to see something going in the next year, but he didn't show you anything to kind of validate any of Ron's quotes about seeing strides, because I don't know where else you would look for that. Maybe on the offensive side of the ball, you got a couple of guys like DeAndre Carter, but again, we're talking about individual people. We're not talking about like collective units here. So I really can't agree with Ron that, you know, we're seeing like these big strides. Maybe it's something he's seeing in practice, but as a fan, I'm looking and saying we have to make upgrades, man. We still have a lot to add to this roster, and it's not just quarterback. Quarterback's the number one thing, but we have to get better at a lot of positions going forward to make me feel like we're, you know, we can be better than what we were this season.
For me, the one thing that stood out was because you brought up Jamin Davis, Dre, and I think that's the ultimate part with this, and also Chase Young too.
That too.
Now there was comments of, obviously he said he warned us heading into this year, and you talked about expectations, which was one thing, but a second thing that he warned us about was maturity. That was the second thing that he warned us about, and said that he wants to see how mature these guys are. There was rumors about Sweat and Young, and their level of maturity, to whatever degree it was or whatever degree it may be. There was just rumors about that, and him inferring to those two players about how mature they are on the field, not necessarily off the field, but on the field, and in regards to playing their roles, doing their jobs, being a part of the team versus freelancing and doing their own thing, which ultimately hurts the defense. That's one thing. Another thing is Jamin Davis that you brought up. A couple of weeks ago, Ron Rivera had mentioned he liked how Jamin Davis was developing. And when I say a couple weeks ago, I would say, because it's week 17 now, I'm talking about like week 10, week 11, week 12, something like that. So he's talking about Jamin Davis at that point and how Jamin Davis has become, or he's maturing a little bit and understanding his role in the defense. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get to 7:45 now. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to the quote with Jamin Davis that he had on Monday, but to sum it up in case we don't, right, he wasn't that high on Jamin Davis in this presser. He was very, I think he needs help. I think he needs the veteran leadership beside him to kind of help guide him on the field and tell him where he needs to be, what he needs to do, communicate, X, Y, Z, simple things like that. And I think that's kind of the part where when you look back and compare what he said about Jamin Davis a few weeks ago to what he says today, how can you kind of sit here and say, where was the quote? I like to believe that we've taken some big steps. I don't know, because the problems that you said existed heading into the season sounds like it kind of existed in the middle of the season. So where did it magically just come about and change things up, in your opinion? So for me, to sum things up for this quote, I think this is, and obviously we don't like to, like, if you bag on a person who's losing, I mean, it obviously it sounds all bad, but the truth of the matter is Ron is an optimist, and there's nothing wrong with being an optimist. But sometimes if you aren't being real, you know what the type of coaches I respect? Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians will cut it to you straight if you're winning or you're losing. Ron Rivera is not that type of guy, and that's fine. But if you're going to talk to a market like Washington, who has a smart fan base, no disrespect to the Carolina market, right? I don't know these guys, but I'm saying if you're going to talk to these guys who clearly know some shit, and they're not going to sit here and let you get away with some shit in the media, these are the responses that you get. These are the analysis that you get. These are the breakdowns that you get. These are the thoughts that you get compared on what you said some time ago. And that's kind of where I'm at with this quote in itself. I think that he jumped the gun on a few things, but I also think that his optimism can get him in trouble because it's not really the full-fledged truth of the situation.
No, I agree. You hit the nail on the point with it. And like I said, and I do like the point you brought up about the media, because I also think we don't get honest answers out of Ron because he doesn't really want to give the media much. I think he feels like this media is out to get him or they want to attack him or something. So he tries to give these vague answers, or he also tries to give this kind of hidden confidence in a team that he may not actually have about the team. So he tries to say these good things because he knows that a lot of guys here will take what you say and they'll spin it and they'll write these things. And I think he's probably experienced that early on while he was here. So now this just seems like, he always wants to have like or seem like he has this sneaky confidence about the team, or he always feels good about the team, even when, things aren't going good, or even when he may not necessarily feel that way about the team. So I do feel like he doesn't trust this media, and you kind of see it reflected into the presser answers and stuff.
I think it'll get him in trouble, Jerry. I agree with you. I think it'll get him in trouble.
Yeah.
If you ain't, you know what I'm saying, keeping the buck, or at least like being some type of transparent with these guys, look, man, your words and your actions, if they not matching, you're going to get in fucking trouble, bro.
I mean, for me, it's like the more that he talks, the more that he just puts himself in bigger holes. Like, nothing makes sense. I'm praying next week that this man decides to, like, just resign. Because at the end of the day,
oh
like,
my God.
I mean, that's why I keep asking, like, what have we seen that makes us believe that this is going to be any different next year? There's nothing that you can point to that tells you, like, hey, this team has a better chance of acquiring a quarterback, whatever. I already knew that the name shit was going to come about this week because it just makes sense. Like, it just makes sense for them to drop that. I knew it was going to happen before Super Bowl. It's a week before Super Bowl. It's just to get people's mind off of it. But the reality is, like, it doesn't matter what they change the name to overall. If you got a guy like Ron Rivera leading these guys and he's not making sense, like he does not make sense at all. And it's so weird because if you just look at a glimpse of Jamin Davis tape, you could obviously see this guy cannot take on blocks even in the SEC. Why would he be able to take on blocks in the NFL, in the NFC East in particular? It makes no sense. So the fact that you're just saying this or learning this within it's about to be week
About to
18.
be week 10, yeah.
That's fucking alarming as shit.
So,
And you
AJ,
also played the
I want you to.
position as well. So it not saying that you should know perfectly, because I mean Michael Jordan was a terrible GM, you know? But at the end of the day, you know when a motherfucker can play linebacker or not. Like, you see him not being able to take on blocks at Kentucky. Why did you think he was going to be able to come to the NFC East and take on blocks?
Yeah. So I wanted to get this quote, and this is gonna be the last quote before we move on. We're gonna go to the quote of the week to end this. But this is the last quote from Ron Rivera that we want to speak on because Jamin Davis was one of the few that I had, and it goes as follows: when he asked on if this season changed his opinion of where Davis should play in this defense, he said that I think that's something we got to really look at and see if it's better for him not to have that kind of pressure that the middle linebacker has on them. The same thing for Cole, because I think when you watch the way Cole has played and how fast he's got to play, that was really good to see. Then when we brought in Jamin in the game and we used him more in what we call the dime or wheel linebacker position in the sub packages, you got a chance to see him run around and play fast. So there were really some good things I think that you can take where you can take the pressure off the young guys having to make decisions on the field and try to control things. I think there's a little something we learned about both guys. That's this full quote on if this season has changed his opinion on where Jamin Davis should play. And Dre, now this part, and AJ, I don't remember. Maybe you all remember, so that's why I'm bringing you all up. I don't remember what our thoughts was once we selected Jamin Davis. Like, did we all think that he was the middle linebacker that we were looking for, or were we thinking he was that linebacker that Washington needed in terms of the speed and possible playmaking, explosive ability to make plays and things like that? From my recollection, again, this is I would have to look back and think and find the videos, but I thought that he was a middle linebacker. I thought that's why we thought he was drafted to be the middle linebacker for Washington. I'll hand it over to you all and talk about the quote itself and obviously that part too, because clearly that plays a role in their decision making, understanding that he's not a middle linebacker clearly.
Well, yeah, I guess I pretty much know why they drafted Jamin Davis. It was the traits. I think they drafted him as traits. I don't know how we felt as a fan base as far as like what part of the linebacking crew. I think we were praying that he could play Mike, because that was the missing piece to this defense. We needed a signal caller on defense. But you looked at his college tape at Kentucky, you saw he could cover pretty well. And I think that's what we were kind of desperate for here. We needed a linebacker that could cover because, we had bad linebackers last year, but the biggest problem we had, outside of just missing a Mike position, we didn't really have anybody that can cover tight ends or, running backs to the flats. So you looked at Jamin Davis, you looked at his 40 time, and you looked at his tape on Kentucky, the good tape that he had at Kentucky. He was covering and he was making plays. Like he was housing picks at Kentucky. So he looked like a guy that would come in and, play fast and be able to cover, the tight ends and everything. But when he got here, I think they did try to force him to be something he wasn't, which was a middle linebacker. I think they saw the success they had with Luke Kuechly in Carolina, and they probably wanted Jamin Davis to be that, and he just wasn't ready for any of that. Like the guy just, he looked like all he does is think on the field. He doesn't look like he plays instinctively at all. Like he thinks about everything he's trying to do, and then we saw it early. We were complaining early in the season when he wasn't playing over John Bostic. We were like, why is he not playing over John Bostic? Like, John Bostic's so slow, he can't cover. And that's why we thought we needed linebackers last year, because we went through Bostic last year playing in the middle, a guy who couldn't get there. But even John Bostic made a play here and there. But Jamin Davis just looks like he just has so much on his plate. and they tried to force things on him that wasn't him as a player in this league. So I guess it's going to be like one of those things with Brandon Scherf. I seen one of the beat guys bring it up where it is a miss on the draft because you drafted Brandon Scherf in 2015, hoping that he could play tackle, but then you had to move him to guard. But that's not what you want to draft in the first round. You don't want to draft a guard at number 5 in the draft, and you really don't want to draft an outside linebacker that you probably can't play 3 downs on the field in Jamin Davis. But it looks like that's what we're going to have to do versus forcing him to be a Mike, something he can't do. So, it's going to be a loss in value for where we drafted him at. But now you just have to see what you can get out of him best as a player, and that's looking like he's going to have to play on the outside.
AJ, you got thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's so ridiculous that you even have to figure this out after you made the pick. What's the point of your scouting department? What's the point of the in-house meetings? What's the point of the pre-draft workouts? Like, what's the point of any of this if you're not going to figure it out ahead of time, and you're going to have to figure it out after you already selected the guys? It's a bit too late. You feel me? Like, it's a bit way too late to do that. So it's just alarming. I mean, I never seen him as a middle linebacker because I watched the tape. When I watched the tape, I seen that this guy could not get off his blocks. Why in the hell would I think that he would be coming here to play middle linebacker? I thought he was going to play outside and be able to roam, and maybe in like passing downs he'll be able to cover because he did have good ball skills or whatever. That's how I thought they were going to utilize him. Never did I think that they were bringing in Jamin Davis to play middle linebacker. No way in hell. Like yeah, there's no way that I ever thought that. So it's just weird to me, and it's a bit weird also that he's saying this type of things out loud because he also understands everything that's been going on with Jamin too. Jamin happened to be at the scene of the Shazer Everett situation. He's had COVID. Yeah,
he was behind them in the
So for me, it's just a bit weird to just kind of like go after that man, especially after everything he's going through right now. But at the end of the day, I really don't trust Ron with any of his decisions personnel wise. Because I mean, you can't at 19th overall. If you really wanted a middle linebacker that bad, you would think they would have moved up and try to get Parsons. Parsons could have played middle linebacker, and he was available. He was available at 11, but you could have moved up. Like that. That's generational talent. You feel me? Like we all knew that. It's just he dropped on the board just because of some concerns behavior wise. But at the end of the day, that's somebody that could play middle linebacker. I don't think anyone came into this draft thinking that Jamin Davis would be a future NFL middle linebacker, especially with his frame. He's not even that big to take on blocks. Like even Darius Leonard is not a middle linebacker. He's an outside backer. But on passing downs, he plays middle. And they're about the same exact size.
And this is my point though. What AJ is saying is that, yeah, it looks like we may have fucked up as far as what we intended Jamin Davis to be as far as where we drafted him. But now, in order to not make this a complete fail, you have to figure out what is the best way to use him now. Like we can't go back in the past and change the fact that we drafted Jamin Davis. But now you have to. It is your job as the coaching staff to find a niche for him on this defense. You have to carve out a role for him on this defense to get the best out of him. That's going to help this defense and to help this team. Like we may still look back at this and say, it wasn't a good pick for a first round, but you don't want to look back at the Jamin Davis pick 2 years from now and say he was a complete bust and a failure of a first round pick. So you have to find out now to say
that's where you reverted. You want that Brandon Sheriff part.
Exactly.
I would rather you be the guard and we talk about how you panned out as an all-pro guard versus you being that tackle and you're just a bust.
Right. And that's exactly why I brought up Brandon Sheriff, because when you think about drafting an offensive lineman in the first or in the top 5 picks, you think about a left tackle. You think about your blindside, guy for your quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. You don't think about drafting a guard top 5, but they obviously realized pretty early on, they realized this in training camp that Brandon Scherf wasn't going to cut at that tackle here. And they moved him at guard. Fans were pissed, and understandably so, but he turned out to be an all-pro guard. He was pretty good at what he does, even though he may not give you a full 16 to 17 games a season. He gave you all pro, he gave you Pro Bowls. And now at this point, Jamin Davis may not feel the biggest need in your defense and middle linebacker, and that's going to be considered a fail because that's what you wanted at that value in the first round. But you can't go and make this a complete fail and say we got to give up on the kid completely. At this point, you have to carve out a role for him in this defense and see what he can be successful at to help this defense going forward.
But what can you really ask him to do? Because I mean, you're not even allowing him to get the snaps to even find out more about him. Like,
I guess it depends on what he learns, though.
Yeah.
Like, what does he learn in the offseason and the mini camps and stuff like that? What does he pick up? And I guess maybe we'll know then. Like, I'm answering your question. Maybe we'll know then, but I mean, it's a good question. You just got to figure out what have you seen that he's been able to pick up. And I guess they know.
Well, this week, I guess that was a starter here. This was the first time we really – I think they said he played 13 snaps this week, and 6 of those was rushing the passer. Maybe that's his role. That was the first game where we really seen him exclusively kind of getting after the quarterback. Like, using his speed. Yeah, and that's what I say. I think one of those resulted in a sack. But even though he wasn't the one that caused the pressure, he ended up with a sack. But maybe that's Jamin Davis' role going forward. Right now, I think this is the most important thing about the end of the season when you're not going to playoff contention. Now is the time to figure out what are the guys that are going to be here next year. What are they good at? What can they do? What can we do going forward? And Jamin Davis is one of those key guys, especially this week against the Giants. What can he do? And you want to see him get more snaps. I know he may have been a bust this season and he wasn't what we expected him to be this season, but you don't want to see David Mayo playing way more snaps than Jamin Davis this week. So you want to give Jamin Davis those snaps. And to AJ's point, use him as a pass rusher this week. Maybe that's something you'll get more. Use him as a blitz, as an 8-gap blitzer or something, instead of telling him, yeah, you have to follow this flat, you have to cover this guy the majority of the game. Try to find out his strengths this week at least, and that'll give you an idea of what you can use going forward with Jamin Davis.
So QC mentioned in the chat, at least we know that Joey Sly needs to be the kicker of the future. He hasn't missed yet. There was one thing that happened with him. Yes. It's one thing that happened. He had his kick blocked. So if you see that one miss, his kick was blocked in Seattle. That's what ultimately triggered his hamstring injury. But outside of that, perfect. Like, come on. At least we know who the kicker is.
50-plus yarders. Remember, Dustin Hopkins, if you had to ask him anything over 40-plus for Dustin Hopkins was Russian roulette. You didn't know what you were getting out of Dustin Hopkins. So it was like, that's what I'm saying. Past 40 yards with Dustin Hopkins, it was like, oh, man, please make this. You just don't know. But with Joey Sly, he seems like he's giving you range out to the 50-plus. So, yeah.
And Hopkins has missed some with the Chargers that nobody likes to talk about.
Extra points as well.
We haven't actually had any kicker miss a field goal since Hopkins. Well, I'm sorry.
Blewett.
Actually, matter of fact, Blewett has his blocked. Yeah. We never missed a field goal that was actually kicked up in the air. There's nothing that's happened since Hopkins has left us. So just remember that when you talk about Hopkins and wondering what he's doing, we haven't missed a kick since he's left. All right, so let's get out of there with the quote of the week, man, and get up out of here. So this is from Paul Coelho. He's an author. And I said his last name wrong, but
it's okay.
You all will forgive me. Exactly.
We don't know who he is regardless.
Coelho.
Absolutely. Coelho. Yeah. So the quote goes as follows. Waiting is painful. Forgetting is painful. But not knowing which to do is the worst kind of suffering. I say it one more time. Waiting is painful. Forgetting is painful. Not knowing which to do is the worst kind of suffering. And I'll kick this one off. And I don't have a whole theory or breakdown of the quote itself, but I resonated with this quote because One thing that stood out to me today, excuse me, one thing that stood out to me today was the forgetting part. Now, I don't know what he meant when Paulo actually wrote this part or wrote this quote out or wrote this statement out, excuse me. But the forgetting part for me had to deal with just understanding people. And I have a hunch in what he meant to be more specific, but the forgetting part and just letting things go, I had a struggle with today because sometimes personalities just rub me the wrong way. And forgetting that, I had this issue, or forgetting that you have these issues with individuals, or forgetting that you have this issue that you need to be, that it needs to be addressed, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, or just something that needs to come to a resolution. Just understanding that these things exist and you have to move on, whether it's a time thing or just putting something past you and moving forward, knowing that this history exists between you and persons or a person. It can be annoying. It can be painful in the sense that it drives your thought process for some time, and is never an easy feeling to deal with. But I feel like in the grand scheme of things, for me, at least in this particular situation, like I said, that it may not resonate exactly with what Paulo was saying. Understanding that I can't afford, what's the word? I can't afford to stoop to a level. I'm a fail with the word, but I can't afford to stoop to a level in which I it's kind of hard to say, I guess. I'm gonna pass it on to you all and gather my thoughts, but I just don't like this. I just don't like the feeling that where if you have to let something go, and it drives you to the point where you're upset, or you're overthinking or overanalyzing, then it can kind of offset where you're supposed to be in life. But I'm gonna pass it on to you all and see if you all have something. But yeah, I'm all over the place with this one thing, so I'm gonna pass it over to Dre or AJ. Take this away from me.
I guess I'll take it. For me, listening to that man's quote, I mean, I don't know that man. That's a pretty profound quote. But my motto is, if anything that makes you think you have to forget about it, then you shouldn't have to. It's probably not worth waiting on either. So, it's all about protecting your mental health, your mental peace. And if, you have something in your life that just kind of makes you feel like you need to forget about this thing, what am I sitting around waiting for? Am I really missing something? Is this, whatever this is that I'm waiting on, is it adding any value or any positivity in my life? And for me, I feel like if I have to sit there and answer those questions, if I have to really think hard about those things, then it's probably not worth waiting for. And it's probably not worth my mental health or my mental space or my mental peace at this moment. So that's my take on that.
Thank God for you, Dre. You said everything in 10 seconds that I was trying to find, and that shit made me very annoyed trying to identify the words that I was looking for. Thank God for you. AJ, please close this out, because I have nothing else to say.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm along the same lines as Dre, man. I feel like you should go forth with what you believe and not hesitate, I'm on the same standpoint. I don't like to bite my tongue for nobody. I'm very honest. I'm very transparent. I don't know how to hide my emotions when I don't fuck with something. So at the end of the day, I'm under the same belief as Dre when it comes to, referencing back to the quote.
Absolutely. And like I said, I have nothing. Dre saved me for today. So did AJ. But I have nothing, man. You all hit the nail on the head with this one, man. It's just something where you gotta understand where you are in life first and foremost, and if something is worth it moving forward. So with that being said, we're out of here. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Alex, I appreciate you checking in. Kendall was a bust. or labeled a bust after his rookie season. And he turned things around for him. So hopefully the same thing does apply for Jamin
Kendall
Davis.
Fuller.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Kendall Fuller,
Nah,
his rookie year.
I'm not gonna let that one slide. Nah, no way.
Kendall
Man,
was,
Kendall Fuller was a ball hawk at Virginia Tech. Like
but Kendall
he
was
was not labeled.
he was getting cooked his first year, and his second year, 2017, was where things came about, where they figured out where to put him. He was a slot man who didn't allow shit thrown his way, like anything thrown his way. He was cooking.
let me comment on this one. Kendall Fuller may not be the best example for Jamin Davis. I think the person Jamin Davis needs to look at is not here in Washington. It's Isaiah Simmons in Arizona. That's the trajectory he wants to have. Isaiah Simmons, he couldn't get on the field early on the season with Arizona last year, and there was a lot of games where he was just a flat out liability when he was on the field, and then he completely changed his second year. So if it's anybody Jamin Davis wants to look at for a turnaround or say I can do this in this league, he better go look at Isaiah Simmons.
That's fair. Same position too.
Didn't the Cardinals change defensive coordinators, or is it still Vance Joseph?
I want to say it's still Vance. I could tell you in 2 seconds. Hold
Okay.
on. Where?
So so I mean, yeah, I guess that's not a bad example, and they also rep by the same agent. He probably could go holler at him, but I mean, I feel like they got two different type of skill sets.
Yeah, it's
I
still
mean, at
Vance.
the end of the day, yeah, I think the Cardinals just became more familiar how they wanted to utilize him. You know, after adding Collins, Watt, and then moving other couple pieces, and it's now allowed him to roam on the field. He really doesn't have any specific duties. He just gets to play rover. So it's weird. If you wanted a guy to kind of play rover, why didn't you take JOK? Because that's what he does. He can cover in the slot. He has great ball instincts. He flies at the ball. There's no hesitation in his game. Those who watched the Monday night game yesterday could see that as well. And any other game you've seen this season, it's like those are intangibles that you can't teach. I mean, I know we trying to close up the show, but it's just weird to me that, you know, guys with linebacker background couldn't tell that this person hesitates to go after the ball. And also the fact that they didn't become a starter until their last year in school. Yeah, it's just kind of like, all right, maybe you guys don't need to evaluate no linebackers going forward. And then you bring in guys like David Mayo.
Yeah, damn. Moral of the story, everybody, new name, same Rivera, which is the point of the show. With that being said, I'll be back I'll be back Wednesday, all 32 side, and then we'll be back Thursday. I am working on the guest, so we'll have somebody to chop it up with on Thursday. So with that being said, we up out of here. Y'all be safe. Enjoy your evening. If there's some basketball games on tonight, which I'm sure there is, you know what I'm saying? Turn up, you know what I'm saying? Watch the games a little bit. But yeah, I'll catch y'all tomorrow. The fellas be back on Thursday, and we can close out the season on a high note. Y'all be safe. Enjoy your evening. All that good stuff. Peace.